Hello everyone, my name is Josh and this is WHIMs Industry Musings, and today I'm going to be doing a video on a completely different topic to what I usually do, because I usually do reviews or I do readings of a book, a TV show or a film or anything really, as long as it captures my interest. But for the most part I haven't really tackled reality TV before. And one of the shows that I really do want to tackle is a show called The Traitors, which is presented by Claudia Winkleman, and it premiered around December of 2022. And I've just been watching it on catch up, and I'm not quite finished with it yet. I've still got, at least 2 more episodes to go before I finish. But I really do like this show, and I really do think it's worth talking about. So what the basic gist of The Traitors is a group of contestants who, like any other game show, they do have other jobs. Some are accountants, some are, people who work for charities, other people work in the medical profession, others might, work as personal trainers or media influencers, those kinds of things. And they have ordinary jobs, so they kind of, are going into this particular game show with the hopes of winning money, and I think it's £250,000 that they're winning. That was the final count, if I remember correctly, of the money that they get. But they get the opportunity to, throughout the game, to build the money as they go. So they add different things to the prize fund depending on how many people survive the events of the game. But they do that through various different challenges that are sort of peppered throughout the day and various days in the competition. And they're invited to this manor house, essentially, this sort of large mansion or castle-esque structure where they get to stay, they get to have luxurious breakfasts, they get to, engage in these wonderful cultured surroundings. But they have to play a game of The Traitors, which is the majority of the contestants are basically faithfuls. They're people who are very much what you see is what you get. There's nothing hidden under the surface. They are who they are. They're very honest. They're very true to themselves. But out of each of these faithfuls are selected 3 traitors. And part of me really likes this idea because, again, it's like a murder mystery where you have to kind of figure out who the traitors are, and you have to kind of figure out what, based on the way they behave throughout the course of the game, what makes them a traitor, what makes someone a traitor, and what makes someone a faithful. So out of all the people who could be saying that they're a traitor, at least one of those people, or at least 2 of those people, could potentially be traitors, and they're pretending to be faithfuls. So this particular game is very interesting because with each contestant who is given the task of being a traitor, they get the opportunity to either misdirect certain faithfuls to thinking that another faithful is a traitor when in fact they're not. So when it comes to a session that happens at the very end of the day of certain games in The Traitors, that is basically a thing called banishment, which is where each and every single one of the faithfuls and the secret traitors go round this table. They're sitting at this round table, and they have to basically vote and debate on who could be a traitor. And they have to basically vote, and whoever unanimously gets a vote of banishment gets the chance to leave. And they have to declare before the entire congregation whether or not they are in fact traitors or they are faithfuls. And like I said before, they get, throughout the course of their days, a chance to build up the prize fund by engaging in certain tasks that do remind me a bit of the Crystal Maze or Fort Boyard in that respect, in the sense that they're basically these very hard challenges. Some of them require you to use your memory, like you have to basically play a certain piece of music, and depending on what piece of music, you have to find an object that's related to that particular piece of music. Like, say for example, the song the Nutcracker Ballet, you might have to look for a nutcracker in one of the rooms, or you might have to look for a swan statue of Swan Lake is being played, or something like that. Like, you really do have to rely on melody and memory in order to, and association. So it's a very interesting game to play. But then there's other games, let's say, for example, you have to basically put your hands in a maggot trough in order to find a key to a door. And that really is one of those ones where I felt very, icky, because I hate, insects, and I hate, moving my fingers around dirty things that, have been, been the hiding place for a lot of insects. So yeah, it's very not very nice. But that's what I love. I love shows like I'm a Celebrity and things like that, where they have to get involved in the mucky stuff, because it is entertaining to watch, even though sometimes I do feel sorry for certain people who do those sorts of tasks. But I really do love this show because it basically has a scenario that if you play your cards right, especially with this season, it is played like a TV show. It does almost feel like it's structured like a show that you'd see on the CW. And for those of you who don't know what the CW is, it's an American network that basically makes shows that are tailor-made for the teen crowd. So they have a lot of romance, they have a lot of supernatural, mystery and intrigue, like the Vampire Diaries or like something along the lines of the Scream films. They do have that kind of flavour to them. So to me, I really do like this particular show, because there is a lot of faithfuls who do have secrets, and it's not just simply a secret of them being a faithful, or whether they're not whether they're a faithful or whether they're a traitor. Some of these characters, like say for example Tom and I think her name is Alex, they come in as a couple, but they kind of tell the rest of the group that they are in fact separate people and they don't know each other intimately or as friends or as lovers at all. And I just felt like that's a very interesting idea. And the fact that these contestants decided to do that because they didn't want any of the contestants to know that they're literally choosing them out of favouritism is a fascinating idea, or they're going to have their own little clique because they're a couple kind of thing. That's an interesting idea. And the fact that the faithfuls are also constructing their own narratives of why they didn't want to let slip this bit of information for personal reasons of why they wanted to win the money is a very fascinating idea. And I really do like the fact that these are the contestants' choices. These aren't the production crew's decisions. They basically are just playing the song or saying the words as they are written. They're not really kind of, having any input, whereas the contestants are making all this stuff happen. They're essentially being the writers in this particular story. So to me, I really do find it's a very interesting show. It's very gripping. And the faithfuls, if they get eliminated or if traitors get eliminated, they don't just get eliminated like, oh, you are the weakest link, goodbye. They get murdered. And part of me feels like this should have been a drama, because this has all the ingredients of a dramatic story. It has a group of people in a house and they are basically, held hostage and have to basically, do these various different things in order to survive and win money for a prize fund. But they're also being eliminated by these hooded figures. It sounds like Hot Fuzz if it was combined with Squid Game. That's what it feels like. It feels like Squid Game coupled with Hot Fuzz, or one of those very creepy, very kind of almost murder mystery Agatha Christie-esque stories where it's very sinister, it's very mysterious, but it's also very slightly comedic. But this show's fantastic, and I definitely had my favourites of who I wanted to win, who I wanted to lose. And some of the traitors I actually found myself really sympathising with and actually really wanting them to win, because, they had very, strong convictions of why they wanted the money. And I really do like that these aren't just actors or actresses. These are real people who genuinely want the money, and they're going to do various cutthroat things in order to make sure that they get that prize fund money. And I find that very admirable. And I think that's actually quite more interesting than if it was scripted that these were real people. So I guess that's why they probably decided to do it as a reality TV show, as opposed to a drama, even though I do think that it being a drama is a very fascinating idea, and you could do some very interesting things, and it can be very gripping from week to week, and you can try to figure out who the killer could be. But then it could be like a very standard murder mystery story, and then I could be having the same complaint that, oh, this should have been a reality TV show. Like, this could be much more interesting as a reality TV show. So there's a lot of things in here that could go either way, depending on how you see it. But I do think it's a fun show. It definitely is one of those shows where I found myself binging a good portion of the episodes for the longest of times. But I found the show to be very engaging, and I liked the idea that one of the contestants fell in love with Alex, who's a part of a couple, but he doesn't know that. I really do like that drama. I love little details like that. Like, these are things that you can't write, that you can't make up, because it just happens so automatically, and it happens almost on the fly. So I like that aspect of it, but I just find the whole entire concept really engaging and really entertaining. So if this does get a second season, which I am really hoping it does, I hope people do kind of spruce up the gameplay and actually include some very interesting elements, because it is an interesting idea, and I do feel like it definitely will be one of those shows that a lot of people will watch and enjoy and take a lot out of. I definitely enjoyed it, and I really do hope they make a second series of this, because it is a really good concept for a show. It reminded me of the Crystal Maze or Fort Boyard, or the VR related television game show Nightmares, if you remember that, with a K. That's actually a really good series that I remember watching as a kid as well. I mean, I remember we used to watch shows like the Crystal Maze and Fort Boyard on Challenge back when I was at school, and me and my sisters would come home from school, or I would come home from school, and my sisters and I and my mum and dad would watch shows like the Crystal Maze, and we always used to remember the theme tunes of shows like the Crystal Maze, and I used to love it. And of course, Richard O'Brien of the Rocky Horror Picture Show fame was in it, and I absolutely love Richard O'Brien, and the fact that he was famous for creating Rocky Horror Picture Show and writing the music and writing the story for Rocky Horror, it really kind of inspired me and thought, oh, this guy's a really interesting character. And his personality throughout those entire shows was absolutely incredible. And of course, just the personalities of the contestants is great, but also adding into the pot Claudia Winkleman, in the case of The Traitors, as this sort of character who is meant to be, overseeing a good portion of what goes on in this particular reality TV show, was an interesting choice, because she does manage to really put on a performance really well of playing this very cutthroat contestant. It is a very interesting idea. So, because Claudia Winkleman is one of those TV personalities who is very straightforward. She is a very, down-to-earth person, and she does try to, incorporate a lot of charisma and intrigue, and a lot of down-to-earth elements to her character when she's presenting. But when she's playing this very kind of almost cutthroat host with a very dark sense of humour, it feels like a very interesting twist to that television personality, that celebrity. So it is a very interesting choice. But it is a very fun show. It's very gripping. It makes you wonder, where is it going to go? But I also think it's very funny as well. That there's this one contestant who says, what would I do if I was murdered? And he goes, oh, I'll be a bit gutted, actually. And I thought, that's great dark humour. I wonder if he actually thought that was actually really clever, or whether he just said it off the cuff and people just told him very late, oh, that's actually really clever. Where did you come up with that? Or it could be seen to a lot of people as being really cheesy, but I just really love this show. I think The Traitors is a show that I think a lot of people should watch. If you are a subscriber to BBC iPlayer, I would definitely recommend giving this show a watch. It definitely is a fun show. It's like the classic game shows like the Crystal Maze or Fort Boyard or Nightmares or any sort of game show from the early 90s or sort of like the mid 80s. You really do get that flavour of it being kind of like a blast from the past. But it's almost like it's combined to something like, oh, what if we partnered that sort of style of game show with something like Love Island, or something like, I'm Celebrity, where it is all about, human connection and about, bringing people together and forming alliances and forming connections with people. What if we could have? It's almost like a dark, twisted. It's almost like a dark, twisted kind of interpretation of that. So I thought that was actually a very interesting combination of these two things, and it definitely is a good show. I'd like to hear your thoughts on this show in the comments if you've actually seen this show, and if you haven't, has this video actually sparked your interest to want to see it? And I hope you're all having a very good day, and if you want to see more, if you like this video, please give this video a like, and if you want to see more, click on the icon see more. I hope this has been Josh with Whimsical Industry Musings. I hope you're all having a very good day, and take care, and bye-bye for now.